back to my channel. So I wanted to share with you a new little project that I have been working on since after the holidays. And I was sitting in my craft room and I was kind of playing around with some stickers, and I came up with this idea that I wanted to do for my greeting cards. I've been making greeting cards for about 3 years now, and I sell them at my local farmers market. I also make them for family. I like to have cards for year round whenever I need something and I don't really have time to make a card. I like to just have extra on hand. And I actually made this one for my vet because my kitty needed to go to the doctor, and I came up with this idea. So basically, I wanted to share with you guys how I created this really cute multimedia greeting card, and it's basically a watercolor background with some glitter and some stickers from Dollar Tree, and then I also hand wrote a little sentiment on the front, and then I glued it on some white cardstock. So I want to share some backgrounds that I made. So this is just basic cardstock. The cardstock that I buy for my greeting cards are from Michaels and Hobby Lobby, and that is the Recollections brand cardstock paper. And I tested this out on a scrap paper, and I didn't know you can actually use watercolors on them. Now the paper does kind of wrinkle a little bit and you glue it down. As you can see, it's completely flat. So I thought that was really fun. So I just decided to create more. And this one, I just did a lime green background with some pinks, purples, and yellows. I like to play around with like different shapes, so I went with circles for this background. And I actually left this uncolored. I actually just took a marker and I just drew kind of like outline the circle. And these are just basically areas that I'm going to be placing my glitter, which I will show you in a little bit. And this is the one I was working on tonight. The watercolor pencils that I use are from Arteza. And Arteza is one of like my go-to artist brands out there for their affordability and their high quality products. And I use fuchsia, peacock blue, pink macaron, and ube purple, or oob purple. And I just created this really pretty background. And these are my all-time favorite watercolor pencils. So it comes with a pack of 72. I actually own 2 of them. And you get all kinds of beautiful colors. And I'm just obsessed with these. And I love that this container has the names of all of the colors in the box. It's really great because if you happen to run out of, let's say, a brown color, you just look up the name and you can order directly from the website to get a refill, because they do sell the single colored pencils. And these colored pencils are break resistant, blendable, water soluble, and acid free. So I kind of just created like a circle, and I want to make it colorful, and I want the colors to kind of blend together once I do add water. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some water and I'll be right back. Alright, and now that I have my water, I'm going to be starting at the corners. And whenever I do watercolor, especially for the cards like these, I like to basically start at least like 1 inch from the edge, and then I like to kind of like push the color towards the edge. That way it creates an outline. And whenever I make these cardstock watercolor cards, I try not to use too much water because then the paper will become super wrinkled. And I like making these because unlike regular watercolor, I don't have to worry too much about making like a perfect shape. I can just kind of sit here and just move the water around on the paper. Kind of like a stress-free coloring session. And when I'm not filming a video, I can just kind of put another video on in the background. I love the kind of crafts that you can do mindlessly without having to think too much about it. And the more color you add to the page, the more vibrant it gets. So I'm just going to do a little example and make this area darker. And I think I'm going to add more purple. I love with watercolor that you can see like a thin, dark outline. That's kind of like my favorite part about watercolor, is like the random spots of color. And then for the center of the card, I think I'm going to end up doing a swirl like I did that card I showed you. So I'm just going to kind of move that blue and blend that with that pink. Alright, and we're going to let that fully dry and work on the next step. So this one I had done like a few days ago. So I'm just going to show you what my next step is. So I'm going to be taking a piece of paper. This will kind of just act as my little messy space. And I'm going to be taking my glitter shaker. This is by the brand Hello Hobby, and this one I got from Walmart. And this little shaker here has different colors, and for today's card I'm actually going to be using, you know what, I think I'm going to be using both the orange and the yellow to make it colorful. Oh, it looks like we have some fallout over here. And I'm going to be taking my art glitter glue. So this is my all-time favorite glue for any type of paper craft. It dries really nicely, it dries fast, and it's water-based, so you can kind of like use it pretty much for anything, but I like to use it for my paper projects. So I'm going to start off by kind of outlining that orange line. And then what I think I'm going to do is, once this is dry, I'm going to go in the middle and fill it with the yellow glitter. So we're going to go and line all of the orange ones and then add the orange glitter. And then I just basically shake the glitter right on top, and I make sure to heavily coat that glue. And because I'm using a paper to catch the glitter, I'm not worried about pouring out the whole thing if I need it. This glitter is so beautiful. And I love this new like card project because it kind of reminds me of kindergarten, like back in the day. And I loved elementary school when you would sit down and do crafts. And now I'm like 33 and I'm still doing crafts. But it's just like so much fun for me. Wow, look at how pretty that is. I love how that turned out. And this orange here, I don't know if the camera's catching it, but it has, I think it's like in like iridescent glitter. Like it has green and yellow colors to it, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And when the light catches it, you can just see the different colors in it. So before I move on to another color, I like to make sure I put that orange back where it goes. And I like this because I don't have to wait hours between letting the glue dry. I can just start with my other color. So we're gonna go ahead and fill in the yellow parts. And for the centers, I'm actually not allowing the glue to touch the orange parts just because I want that watercolor to show. Oh, that is so beautiful. And I do want to fill in the back parts, but I actually have to leave those blank for now because on this side, because on this card, as you can see, I actually glued the cats directly on the blank card, and then I went in with the glitter. So I'm gonna end up doing that. Honestly, now thinking about it, I should have just glued the cats on first, but that's okay. We can figure it out. Alright, so it's been about like 20 minutes, and as you can see, this hasn't really fully dried, but it is dry to the touch. So we can actually go ahead and glue that to our greeting card. And I have my blank greeting card here. And I kind of just eyeballed the shape of the envelope. That way it fits perfectly. And this is, I believe this is a 4.5-inch envelope. I get my envelopes from Hobby Lobby, and I believe they are 4.5-inch. So I want the front of my greeting card to pop, so I'm going to go ahead and find some matching pattern paper. And for my paper, I just went with this pattern purple color, and this is from my 12 by 12-inch paper studio scrapbook paper, and this is so beautiful. This is from the Tattered and Worn To collection, and it just basically has like different designs, and I just really love it. I don't have much space on my desk right now because I have all my projects, but hopefully you guys can see it. It has just different colored patterns, and it's just so beautiful. And I love the variety of color. And this is just the cardstock paper that I use year-round for all of my cards. So obviously we need to cut this down. And honestly, when it comes to making greeting cards, I like to do things however it makes sense to me. I actually just eyeball and I use my paper cutter. I don't do any measuring whatsoever. Honestly, measuring kind of stresses me out. It's not for everyone, and it's definitely not for me. I remember when I very first started my greeting cards, I followed a tutorial that measured exactly how long or short you're supposed to cut something, and I had to take out my measuring tape, and it just wasn't fun for me. So I figured out how to do it easier, and this is basically how I do all my greeting cards. Whenever I'm measuring out the backgrounds, it's just quicker for me. I like to get a pencil and flip over the cardstock where it just shows the white. Line up my card, line up my background. And I basically make a small line on where I want to cut it. And then I will cut my paper down to the size. So we will just want to make sure that this is lined evenly. And you can use a glue stick when you're making cards, but I personally like to use the Tombow permanent tape because it's just easier for me and it's less messy. Actually, you know what? This one is already empty. So I'm using the blue one over here. But these are just minis that I got from Michael's last month. And these are so cute. And they're like travel friendly, so you can travel with them. I haven't seen these before, so I don't know if they're new. But when I saw them, I was like, you know what? I need to pick it up. And I like to just put a little bit of tape on the four corners of the paper. And then one line down the middle. Oh, this is so cute. I love it already. So even though this is wet, it is best to let them dry 100%, but because I'm doing this video, I don't have all night to wait for this to dry. So we're just gonna kind of hope that it sticks. And right now I love that you can kind of see the distressed ends of that purple cardstock. It just makes it really unique and really artsy. So now we're gonna pick out our stickers. And I did find a stray sticker hanging on the back, so we're gonna use this one. And this sticker sheet is absolutely adorable. It has fancy cats and dogs, and it has little sentiments that say fancy, cute, and they're just really cute. And it has some little sentiments. It has some hearts, diamonds, and bones. So I think for this card, I'm going to use the little dogs. And I don't know if I already said it, but I did get this from Dollar Tree. Gosh, I want to say like 7 years ago. I've had it for a while. So we're going to go ahead and get another sheet of some cardstock paper. and we're going to take out our dogs. So, okay, I'm going to use these two dogs here. And here is an up close. Isn't that cute? I love the little eyes. And I think it's like a French bulldog or something. And because these stickers aren't really that sticky, I like to just add extra tape to the back. And we're gonna cut this out, so it really doesn't matter how you stick this on, but I'm just going to start with the corners. And we're gonna be doing some lining on the sticker. So I always make sure to leave some space around the sticker to draw on. Look at how cute that is. And I love that this has glitter on it. It goes well with the theme today. And then I'm going to take some other sentiments. And this right here was a sticker that was just kind of hanging on the back of that cardstock sticker, and actually does not really match with this sticker set, but I'm going to use it anyway because why not? Alright, and whenever I use stickers on my greeting cards, I like to get a micron black pen and kind of make a little outline. And it kind of adds a little bit of a, I don't even know what to call it. I guess it just adds a border and it just makes it look like better than just sticking it on a card, if that makes sense. So as you can see here, I got this pen and I kind of made a little border. And you can do a stitch border, you can do little squiggly lines. But for this one, I'm just gonna do a stitch line. And I'm gonna try to zoom in as much as I can. And for the stitch line, I like to just kind of do tiny lines all the way around. And these lines don't have to be perfect at all, because that's the beauty of a handmade card. Especially if you make them quicker. It kind of gives it that real stitch look to it, I guess. And then for the hearts, we can do, I guess we can just do 2 lines. Alright, and once we're done with that, I'm going to be taking my Westcott scissors. These are the best scissors to buy if you're making greeting cards, because they stay sharp for a long time. And I only have to buy mine every 2 years. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just going to individually cut out the stickers. And when I do this, I like to kind of make sure that I don't cut off that hand-drawn stitch. All right, and there you have your little sticker. And now that I'm done cutting all of those out, now it is time for the fun part. So before I make any card, I like to kind of think about what kind of card I'm doing and what kind of sentiment I want on it. So for example, if you want a really long sentiment, you kind of have to think where you want to place those words or quotes or whatever you put on it. For example, if you choose a bigger word and if you want more text in it, then maybe you would center the text in the middle, and then that's when you can place all of your little stickers or decoration. So I like to kind of mentally plan it out. And I think for this card, I think I'm gonna go with Spoiled Pooch. Because when I see this little dog, I feel like this dog is a little princess and she's probably really spoiled. So I'm basically going to be taking some scrap cardstock and I'm going to spell out my sentiment. And I kind of messed up on my cursive a little bit, but we'll kind of fix that once we redraw it with a pen. And I love using black micron pens for this very reason. They are fast drying and I like to do a lot of handwriting on my greeting cards. So it's just perfect whenever I can do cursive with it. And I can just draw directly over the pencil lines and erase it without it smudging. So these are the best pens to use. I give this about 30 seconds to dry, and then I will get my eraser and erase those pencil marks. And I never really worry about making the letters super perfect, because handmade is not perfect. So you're gonna get a little bit of pen lines on this, but that's okay. So whenever you do sentiments like this, you can trim the paper down, which I am gonna do, because I want to make sure I can fit all of my elements on that card. And you know what? I think I'm gonna cut it too. So then I can leave it as is, but I actually want to make the lettering a little bit more special. So I'm just gonna kind of make the words thicker. And then while that dries, I'm going to be taking my gel pen and I'm just going to draw an outline around the edges. And gel pens do take a little bit longer to dry, so I have to be careful when I pick them up. But this is what the finished words look like. I think it's really cute. And whenever I do little borders like this, I always like to use my markers or my gel pens because I feel like it pops, especially when you use metallic gel pens. So I think I'm going to add my sentiments on the bottom. And I'm basically going off of this greeting card that I made. I actually love that you can see the center of the swirl. So I think I'm going to replicate this one. Okay, so I think that's where I want my words, and then alright, so now that this is fully dried, we are going to go ahead and get our markers. And I'm going to be using 2 of my Sharpies. And I'm basically going to get the Sharpie and draw the outline where I want that glitter. And then we're going to do a swirl in the middle. And then this light pink kind of looks like a peach. So I think I'm just going to draw some peach in between that. in between the pink. And we're not going to put glitter on the peach part, just because I don't have like peach colored glitter. Alright, and I'm happy with how that turned out. So next, we are going to find some cardstock. And for this one, because I want my words to pop, I'm going to be using some black cardstock paper. And we're going to tape that down. And let's see. Oh, that's super cute. And then for the final heart, I'm going to put it up here. Actually, let's see. I'm going to put it right here. And I chose to do that because my focal point will be on that middle sticker, on that middle swirl. So I'm going to go ahead and tape down all of the stickers. Oh, that is so cute. I love how this turned out. All right, and next is time for the fun part. We're going to be taking that glue and just outlining the blue parts. And for the outside, this is actually a last minute decision, but to kind of extend that blue border, I'm actually gluing on the very edges of the blue, not on top. I want to see how that looks. Ooh, you know what? I'm gonna go with a purple glitter. And then the blue on the center, I think that would look really cute. So because I already put the glued down, I'm going to be shaking it off after each. I'm going to be shaking some off. So we're just doing one corner at a time, that way our glitter doesn't mix. Purple is one of my favorite colors, and I am loving this all purple card because the more purple the better. Alright, so now we're gonna add the blue. But before we shake that off, I have to clean off the purple from my page. And then I like to kind of clean off the excess with a clean brush. And then we're gonna go in with that pink glitter. And when I do these cards, I actually like to paint the watercolor backgrounds all at once. So while one is drying, I can work on the other one. And then I can kind of better streamline my process. So then by the time the watercolor is done, I can just glitter them all at once, and I can just use all pink glitter for like all 5 pages. It's just a quicker way to do it. That is so beautiful. All right, and I think that's pretty much it for the front. And while that dries, I'm actually going to be doing a border. just because I like to add a lot of detail to my cards. For this one, I think I'm just going to add a stitch border. So I'm going to be taking my Jelly Roll white pen, and I'm just going to kind of do stitching on the purple cardstock. And before we do that, we want to make sure we get all of the glitter bits. That way it doesn't get stuck to the gel pen. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to add some dots instead. And when I do my dots, I don't do a straight line down. I mean, you can do that, but I kind of go in a zigzag pattern. So close to the edge, and then maybe some in the middle. I guess kind of like a sporadic dot pattern. But you can really do a straight line down the edges. I think it will look just as cute. And that right there is the completed card front. Here's a little bit of a close-up. So we're gonna let this dry, and then I will see you guys back for the inside of the card. All right, and this is fully dried, and as it dries, you can kind of see the pages lifting up, and the paper basically kind of like bubbled. So we're gonna fix that. So next we're gonna be working on the inside of the card. And this one is a little bit off center, but that's okay. And then next we're just going to be taking some white cardstock paper and lining that up. And then sometimes for the insides of the cards, I will do a border. Sometimes I will leave it blank depending on the amount of time I have. But for this card, I think I'm gonna go with a, let's see, do I have a purple pen? All right, I do have a purple pen. So what I like to do for mostly all my greeting cards is I like to create a decorative border on the inside. That way when I write a note or whenever someone else wants to write a note, it will just basically make it look really nice. So I think on this inside I'm gonna make a decorative border. Oops. And I am using my Le Pen, kind of like a, it looks pink, but it's actually a purple color. And I'm just going to draw a border all along the cardstock. And when you are making cards, it is always good to basically double line the inside of the card, so when the person sending the card will send a card that doesn't leak through the back. For example, some people like to use Sharpie, some people like to use like regular markers or even pens. If we were to just leave this blank, you can kind of see the writing on the back side. Now, depending on the type of cardstock that you use, that will vary. For example, if you use a thicker cardstock, the writing probably will not show as much. But I just like to double line the inside of my cards. Just because I do sell them, so I want to make them look as nice as possible. Alright, and then on the very back, I will normally just add a sentiment. Sorry, not a sentiment, my business logo. And my business logo, I just basically typed up my business name and then I will glue it on the back. But for regular cards, I just leave it blank, or sometimes I'll just sign my name. So next we're going to be taking the glue, and because I want this to be completely flat, we're going to be inserting the tip of the glue inside the paper. And then hold that down. And sometimes the other part of the paper will not adhere. And sometimes the other part of the paper will lift up, so I just add more glue. And the best way to do this is to glue all your edges and then place a book on the top of the card overnight, and it just basically flattens out the card. So this is the completed card, and I really love this. I feel like it turned out super cute. And I just love how colorful it is. And of course, before you put the book on top of the card, you want to make sure that your glue on, you want to make sure that the glitter is completely dry, otherwise it's just going to make a mess. So make sure this part is dry. I usually wait about an hour and a half to place the book on top. And it looks like I have very little storage left on my phone, so I'm not going to be able to record this greeting card, so stay tuned for part 2. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching my channel. I know this was a long video and a lot of talking, but thank you so much for watching me, and I will see you guys in part 2. Bye.